Our gardens can offer us peace, beauty, fresh air, and even a nice hobby. But they can also be a haven for wildlife. That's the message we're getting from our friends over at restless.co.uk. And today we're going to be looking at 10 of their suggestions for making our gardens more wildlife friendly. Welcome to Grey Matters. Hello and welcome to Grey Matters, the channel that promotes the fact that the older generation still matters and looks at issues that matter to the older generation. And today we're looking at 10 ways to make your gardens more wildlife friendly. And that's thanks to our friends over at restless.co.uk. Now, this isn't a paid promotion. They are a brilliant website, and I really recommend that if you're thinking of retiring or if you have retired, head over there because they have so much content. There's help and advice on finances and occupations. They do have job vacancies, I believe, on there. They have loads of free courses as well to help you expand your horizons. Brilliant website. Do take a look. But as for these 10 ways to make your gardens more wildlife friendly, let's get started. Suggestion number 1 is to create a hedgehog-sized hole in your fence. Yes, really. You know, hedgehogs can range up to 2 kilometres a night, and they can run at an amazing 6 feet a second. But garden fences limit their search for foods, and they isolate them, and are thought to be largely responsible for their decline in numbers, because it's reducing the area that they can actually search for food. So, if your neighbours have no objections, cut yourself a hedgehog-sized hole, that's not easy to say, in your fence, which will allow them to travel through. Number 2 is to let your grass grow. Now, most of us like a neat and tidy lawn by mowing it, and indeed one of this channel's most watched videos is about my robot mower, and I'll leave a link in the description to that. But if you want to support insect wildlife, consider letting your lawn grow wild every once in a while, or set aside a small area to run wild. Now, long grass creates a safe haven for insects to hide in, and if you go a further step and sow some wildflowers like poppies and cornflowers, you could attract a lot more wildlife. You could even create a nectar cafe by planting nectar-rich flowers that will attract bees, moths and butterflies. And as they move between flowers, they will pollinate them. Discover Wildlife has a list of 20 flowers that you can plant in a wild garden that will attract the insects, and I'll leave a link to that in the description. Now, we have quite a long garden, and we've been able to set aside about a third of it for wildlife. Number 3 is to install a bug hotel. Now, love them or hate them, insects and creepy crawlies are a vital part of our ecosystem. Not only do they help to pollinate flowers, but they provide a source of food for birds and other animals, and they also prey on other insects that we consider maybe our garden pests. But they are really important to the ecosystem of our gardens. And you can buy ready-made bug hotels. You can get a kit, as this one was, cost about £2 or £3 from Lidl's. You can make a bug hotel out of virtually anything. A 2 or 3 litre lemonade bottle with the ends cut off both ends and filled full of sticks and twigs. Anything you can do to just pull together some garden debris or anything like that will help to make a bug hotel. They are really important to our gardens, and it's well worth doing. Number 4 is to build a wildlife pond. Subscribers to this channel may remember that last year I did exactly that, and I'll leave a link in the description to that particular video. Wildlife ponds are really quite important. Frogs need them to repopulate, dragonflies use them, hedgehogs, birds obviously use them, and currently I've got a pond full of snail eggs, so it's beginning to actually mature and attract the wildlife. It It doesn't have to be big, it doesn't have to be expensive. As you can see, this is quite a small one. But we've got a new visitor on there at the moment, a duck. Yes, mummy duck has arrived in our garden, built a nest by the patio, laid half a dozen eggs, and wanders down here now and again for a quick swim and to eat some of the plants. We are feeding her because they lose an incredible amount of weight during the season that they have to just sit on those eggs. So we've got specialist duck food in, some watercress which they love, some chopped up greens. We replenish her water daily. She's gradually getting used to us, but our concern is going to come when the ducklings hatch, because apart from this pond and a river about half a mile away, we aren't really near any water, and we have quite a secure garden. Going back to that hedgehog hole, maybe we need to build a duck hole in our fence to give them a chance to go somewhere. So we're looking at expert ways of relocating them if it's necessary to do so. But if it wasn't for this wildlife pond, maybe she wouldn't have chosen our garden. So yeah, pop one in, dead cheap. I think this cost me in total about £135, but have a look at the video, link in the description below. Number 5 is to install a bird feeder. Now, I can't imagine there's many gardens in the UK that don't have bird feeders these days, but they are becoming increasingly important because new housing and changes to agriculture are robbing birds of their normal feeding grounds. There's been a serious countrywide decline in the bird population, including many well-known and much-loved species. For example, in the last 30 years, tree sparrows have declined by 95%. Starlings by 71%, skylarks by 52%, corn buntings by 88%. In fact, almost half of our bird species are in decline, so bird feeders are really important. Now this one needs topping up. We've run out of seed. We've got to go and buy another bulk bag of seed. But the diet changes through the year. The RSPB advises that during spring and summer they should be fed a high protein diet of black sunflower seeds, mealworms, and even a tinned cat and dog food. In winter they need high energy foods like fat balls and suet blocks, so these aren't really relevant now that we're in the spring. The RSPB have got lots of really good advice about feeding your local bird species, so get onto their website and have a look. I'll leave a link in the description below. Number 6 is to start a compost heap. Now, you can use that to recycle things like kitchen scraps and a certain amount of garden waste, even some unexpected things like the contents of your vacuum cleaner bag. It's true. And not only will it enrich your soil, but it will provide a habitat for a lot of your garden wildlife. Now, regular compost heap dwellers include frogs and toads, beetles, bats, slow worms, grass snakes, and birds, and they all benefit from the richness that comes out of your compost heap. Now, if you've got nowhere to actually create a compost heap, you can always use a compost bin. It works just as well. It creates more heat sometimes than a compost heap, so it will break down the contents quicker. Don't overdo grass clippings though, because they can overheat. They probably put in too much nitrogen, but some grass clippings in there will help to speed up the breakdown by creating a little bit of heat. But just be a little bit careful of that. You can also add things to it like toilet and kitchen roll tubes, sawdust, wood chippings, even shredded paper. Those are items, they're called brown materials, and it's important to get a nice balance between brown materials and the green materials. You can also buy a compost accelerator from most garden centres that you mix with water, pour a couple of gallons of water in, soaks it down and helps to break it down quicker. So that's number 6, get yourself a compost heap. Number 7 is to support owls and bats. Now, bats are in decline, they need safe places to roost, and a bat box will really help them. Don't forget, they're very good at pest control. They're essential to the ecosystem by keeping insect population in control. They eat thousands of them every night. Owls, well, an owl box is an incredibly good idea. Essex Wildlife Trust, and indeed your local wildlife trust, they will be able to help you there. We have a licensed box from the Essex Wildlife Trust, and they provide safe spaces for them to nest, to lay their eggs, to bring on their young. And with the incredible upsurge of building and destruction of our woodlands, owls are really struggling to find safe places to nest. Now, don't just make one and stick it up in any old tree. There are requirements you need to be sure that the owls A are going to find it and B are going to use it. So speak to your local wildlife trust. If they don't help with these things in terms of the provision of boxes, they will at least be able to give you some advice on the best way and the best places to install them. Not everywhere is suitable, but a great addition to your garden, and you'll be doing a lot to help the owl population. Number 8 is about hydration. Bird baths. Really important to help support your garden visitors. Not just birds either, because you will find that insects such as bees and wasps and butterflies will also use it to drink from and stay hydrated in hot weather. Now, bear in mind the water needs to be kept clean, so if you don't get rain for a while, you may need to top it up with clean water, and if you get a lot of sun, it'll start turning green, so again you need to keep that water replaced and refreshed. So bird bath, really valuable addition to your wildlife support. Number 9 is to build a hedgehog house. Now, we don't have one because we don't get hedgehogs in our garden, maybe because we haven't yet installed that little hedgehog hole in our fence, something we need to consider. But they are really important. They provide them with somewhere to shelter, to hide and to nest. If you do get one, make sure that you put it somewhere in the shade. It's fairly secluded, somewhere where it's going to be maybe safe from predators. Behind sheds is quite a useful place to put them. But do give that some consideration, because hedgehog numbers, as I've said earlier, are in decline. And finally, why not grow some climbers? They provide a really valuable place for insects and birds. And you'll find that varieties like honeysuckle clematis are very popular with the insects. The first thing you'll notice will be the bees that get attracted to it, and then as it matures and thickens up, it may even provide a place for birds to roost or to nest in. So climbing plants, an excellent addition to your wildlife garden. Well, that wraps up this edition of Grey Matters. Thank you for joining us. Thanks to our friends over at restless.co.uk for their great ideas for making our gardens more wildlife friendly. And in future episodes, we're going to be looking at Budapest. We're going to be doing a travelogue about Budapest. We're going to be looking at repurposing farm buildings, and in particular, one that's turned itself into a really nice antique centre that's actually been featured on TV. And we're going to be talking about brain fog, I think. Can't remember what I was going to say about that. Thanks for joining us. Bye for now.